Dummy. 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 Dummy.
Now, y'all, I have been waiting months to actually tackle a piece of this story. And the reason why is because I really wanted to take the time to do a little bit more research, because I think that while it would have been fun to simply poke fun at the author in this case, it's more important for us to take a look at the wider, greater issue that this author's serious blunder created or highlighted, right? And that is to say that these days, words lack meaning. We know that they're basically dog whistles, and the fact that the people using these dog whistle words cannot define them is 100% illustrating something that we really need to wake up to. But before we go any further, let's take a look at what I'm talking about. Okay, so now we are going to go into further. I've got some clips for you to show you as well, not just of this author, Bethany Mandel, but as well as some other people who have an issue with woke culture. Okay, so now this is her book, okay, Bethany Mandel's book, okay, and so the title of her book is Stolen Youth: How Radicals Are Erasing Innocence and Indoctrinating a Generation. Cool. Now, so far, not specifically mentioning woke, right? It will. Give me a second. So look right here. What does it say? It says, the kids are not all right. The left is waging an all-out battle on the American family, particularly the youngest members. If they can make our children miserable, lead them to question every building block of society, and rebuild their entire concept of reality, then the left and their woke indoctrination will consider that a victory. Well, there's woke once. Let's see if woke is written any more times. Just, I don't know. Well, we can't let them win. Okay. As concerned parents and American citizens, of course, we have to understand what's truly going on before we can do something about it. Stolen Youth provides an urgent, deep dive into the issues surrounding the current woke indoctrination happening in politics, education, medicine, mental health, entertainment, and culture. Well, there's woke again. It seems as though woke culture is incredibly important to this framework that Ms. Mandel or Mrs. I don't know, that's why you say Ms. I mean, she is married. She talks about her husband, her kids, and whatever. But still, right? Respectfully. Now, you would think that considering the fact that woke culture is mentioned twice in just this very small introductory paragraph to try to get people to purchase the book, right? And then we're talking about fighting for our children's freedom, right? And protecting our kids. No longer afford to stay ignorant. Our children's lives and the survival of our families is at stake. I mean, geez, this woke culture things, woke indoctrination is terrible. And of course, the first step in fixing any problem, right, is to be able to fully identify it. So obviously, she has identified woke culture for us, right? We know exactly what woke means. All right, so let's listen to Bethany Mandel define woke for us.
Would you mind defining woke? Because it's come up a couple times and I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
So, I mean, woke is sort of the idea that this is going to be one of those moments that goes viral.
Yeah.
And it did. That incredibly cringy moment featuring a conservative author by the name of Bethany Mandel did go viral because she, of course, struggled to define what woke means, even though she wrote an entire book about wokeism.
Yep.
Now remember, right? So she wrote this entire book about wokeism. Right? Now, why am I bringing up her little flub, her little faux pas, this embarrassing moment of her life? Why am I bringing that up? Is it because despite this incredibly embarrassing moment that let us know that this was nothing but some dog whistle words that was literally meant to appeal to people's emotion, and to shut down their logic. So that way they thought there was some monster after, their families and their kids with this wokeism. Right. And, despite the blunder that, people were able to just run forward with this foolishness anyway. Well, let's see. I don't know. I mean, certainly since then, at least people have the definition on the up and up, right? I mean, I'm sure we've all come together and collectively defined wokeism now, right?
Let me start here. Yeah,
I'm not good at defining woke. Okay. Let him do that, but yeah.
Woke is accepting everything that is evil. So, for instance, monster cans. Each line represents a 6. So you got 666. And then if you look on the monster can itself, in the O of the monster, it has a cross, and it's got represents the Antichrist. So when you
naturally
drink it, you've got the cross coming down, and that's
wokeism, sort of in a nutshell.
Yes, in a nutshell, it's accepting everything that's evil as good.
Naturally.
Could you have another example of when you run into wokeism?
What they're doing with the schools,
like,
and the children, and trying to indoctrinate them.
Of course.
I have a granddaughter who's 6 years old.
Naturally.
And
you have a granddaughter?
Yeah.
Wow, you look great for having a granddaughter.
Thank you.
Tell me then, so what kind of indoctrination? I'm asking you just for specific.
I like to graduate high school in Stevens Point. I mean, I have it on my phone. It's talking about gender issues and issues that shouldn't even be discussed in school. And pushing young children. If it were up to my granddaughter, she would be a dog. And they would be letting her crawl around on the floor and identify as a dog until 2 weeks from now. Then she'd be a cat. And they're letting children.
I mean, in and of itself, I don't know why no one is concerned when they say things like this about their own family members, right? Because there's not really anyone in my family, including myself, my siblings, my cousins, anybody at any point, my friends' children, okay, that would be a dog or a cat for weeks. Crawl around on the ground, and that's what they go and do. Maybe for they're playing make-believe for a couple hours, but what is wrong with your children? That if left to their own devices, they would rather be anything than human for weeks or months at a time. That kind of feels like it might be a failing in your family and less of a failing in greater society, because I'm pretty sure that this does not generalize to the greater population.
Transition or telling them to keep it from their parents and pushing them to get gender reaffirming care and keep it a secret from their parents. That's not school.
And that's happening at school. There are cases specifically.
So this is
all over the
wokeism.
United States. And we are fighting school boards left and right.
Oh.
Wokeism.
So she's fighting school boards left and right. For definition, she cannot define, so she lets the man define it, and then they just start throwing all kinds of, it's all evil, da da da. Y'all remember when Black people used to almost exclusively use the word woke, right? You tell someone to stay woke. Y'all remember when woke was our word? Y'all remember that? When did this word just suddenly take on all these extra meanings? Okay.
That's horrible. I mean, it's borderline mental
horrible
issues, I guess.
Borderline
I
mental
would say.
issues.
I mean, if you don't know what you are and you can't see what's going on right now in front of our eyes, it's something's definitely wrong with those individuals.
What is it about wokeism that upsets a lot of the people that would be on these paths today?
Well, like you just mentioned, it's the ever-changing thing of it. I mean, you're constantly walking on eggshells, and you have no idea if what I say today is going to be acceptable in 4 years. I don't think it's okay to be ridiculing and getting upset at people for something they said 8-10 years ago. And that's kind of the whole idea of cancel culture and the wokeness that it's been right now, is we're getting people in trouble for things that happened before these things were even wrong to do. So I don't know. I don't agree with that. That's what gets people.
How would you define woke?
Oh, man. To me, woke is going out of your way to please everybody around you, and to accept any ideology that they feel is comfortable for them. And so I don't think that that's how we're supposed to live our lives. I think you should let people do what they want to do, but I shouldn't be forced to have to accept those things, and we should all be able to just live how we want to live. That's what I
See, now I think this is really interesting, because while they say that this is the case, in reality, no, they do not believe that. Right? Because they do actually think that they should be able to control a fair amount of what other people are doing, right? They just don't think anyone should be able to control anything they're doing, right? But you know what? I will agree with one thing, right? And I do think that this the woke in the 21st century, as it's been defined and as it's been redefined, right, does have a lot to do with the fact that, hey, you know what? These definitions can change left, right, and center. And so something that was acceptable to say 10 years ago, 20 years ago, even sometimes a couple of years ago, could now get you canceled. And that is an issue I have with cancel culture. And, you know, with the way that modern society is, I do have an issue with that, right? Because we have to look at what people are saying in the context of which they're saying it, and then judge them based on that. We cannot judge somebody in the year 1997 for the things that they were saying relative to 2023 and whether it's okay or not in 2023, because it's about what was okay, what was acceptable, what was considered hateful, what was considered funny, and whatever in 1997. Now, as long as that person's not still saying these things 20, 30 years later, why are we going to now flay them and ruin their lives over something they were saying that was acceptable in 2020 in 1997? I find that crazy, right? But here's the thing, and this is part of the issue, is that when you are not functioning strictly off of logic, when you have people who are intentionally trying to trigger your emotions left, right, and center, so that way you start believing ridiculous things like, for example, critical race theory, something that is literally only taught in universities and only at an advanced level and only for people who choose to take that type of course. Right? But they'll have you believing that your children, your 7-year-olds are going to school and coming home having learned critical race theory with no evidence. It's insane. And y'all think that it's okay that as long as you say, I got the receipts on my phone. Everyone's so lazy. We're in such a lazy culture, right? That no one's going to really check for them receipts. Remember when we loved the internet because it allowed us to say receipts or it didn't happen? And you had to provide receipts or it didn't happen? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how, the left certainly has a million different definitions for what woke means, right? But at least they know how to define the words they're using, whether you agree with them or not. Right? And when we see the Tucker Carlsons and the Steven Crowders and the Ali Alexanders and the Milo Yiannopoulos and the Nick Fuenteses, right? When we just see person after person after person, Jesse Lee Peterson, person after person after person, with the same level of manipulation, using the same dog whistle words and dog whistle tactics, all feelings over facts. And then we see that they're not living the way that they're preaching at you to live. They are often doing the same things or worse, and they are condemning others for doing and so on, right? It's crazy. It's just a bunch of hogwash that lets you know that they have been emotionally and mentally manipulated, okay, and triggered on purpose. So that way, the bobbleheads on the right can try to get the masses to do their bidding. And let's be real. After January 6th, people should be well aware of the fact that just because you do the bidding for the higher ups doesn't mean it's going to pay off well for you.
Dummy. Dummy.